For many people, anxiety is a day-to-day existence, whether it's something that's just there in the background and kind of festering within you, a sense of unease, but not really entirely sure where it's coming from. It's just, you kind of accept it. But for some other people, it can be completely debilitating and it can dictate day-to-day existence. And I was one of those. It dictated my whole journey through my eating disorder towards my, I guess, addiction to exercise and many other debilitating elements of my life on the lead up for me gaining my ADHD diagnosis. Now, I was on citalopram, which is a very widely used antidepressant, which is predominantly, at the best of my understanding, given to people to manage anxiety. I was on maximum dose of citalopram, but my anxiety was horrific, and I didn't understand why. There wasn't really anything particularly going on in my day that was going to exacerbate my anxiety to be at the level that it was, but it was just horrendous. And I later found out that with having ADHD, if you have anxiety as a symptom, then the chances are quite high that citalopram will actually make that worse. And when I heard that, I was genuinely gobsmacked, because I spent years with that feeling, and it just impacted me so much. It was just hideous. So on my journey to actually making that decision and having my diagnosis, because at that point I'd been going with that process for so long that I knew that I just needed to do something about it. And for me, my decision was to go ahead and to go and get my diagnosis. And when I was talking with my doctor about medication, obviously the first thing to consider was something called serotonin overload, basically. I can't remember the technical term for it, but I couldn't go onto my ADHD medication until they navigated and reduced the amount of citalopram that I was on, with the concern that I might get serotonin syndrome. So I had to kind of go through a bit of a bumpy few months with withdrawing off of the citalopram, but knowing that I had an end goal in sight made that journey a lot easier. And weirdly, the anxiety wasn't as debilitating, even with reducing. I think for me, the only real impact was that of my sleep. And the day that I first started taking my ADHD medication is a day that will sit with me forever. Instantly, my head went quiet. Now, I cannot articulate how odd that was. And I think unless you've kind of been through that experience, it's really hard to kind of understand how bizarre, especially when you are somebody that has 50 million things running through your head all of the time, which I do, well, which I did, sometimes still do, to suddenly not be able to have a thought process at all was insane. And it was like a huge weight had instantly been lifted off my shoulder. Now, obviously, it was a bit of a process, and it took quite a while to get me to the level that I needed to be on my ADHD medication, but also reduce the citalopram. And actually, to be fair, if I'm brutally honest, I'm on an incredibly low dose of citalopram, but it's more to kind of help me with the sleep pattern. Because obviously if you're on a stimulant ADHD medication, sleep isn't the easiest thing to do after a day of kind of going at full pelt. So when I say getting my diagnosis of ADHD and actually being medicated for ADHD has given me my life. A life that I never really thought that it's really hard to articulate. Being medicated for ADHD made me realise what life would have been like if I never had ADHD. And I could have quite easily have been angry, I think, with realising that for 30 odd years I was living in a way which was a lot harder than it needed to be, because with that diagnosis and with getting the support that I needed to manage the symptoms of ADHD, it could have been so different. But I don't sit in a sense of resentment and anger and frustration. I look at this as an opportunity for me living the rest of my life authentically, living my life as me, as the real me, a me with dopamine in my brain, which I was clearly limiting for so many years, and no anxiety. The anxiety switched off the day that I started taking my ADHD medication. And to this day, I still remember the first time I felt anxiety when on ADHD medication. I had a complete freak out because I'd forgotten how it felt. I'd forgotten how that feeling kind of overtook me and overtook my whole body. It was a really physical reaction for me with ADHD. And I can distinctly remember speaking to a friend about it. And she said, you know, everybody has anxiety and everybody has normal levels of anxiety at some stage in their life. So actually what you're experiencing is completely normal. And that blew my brain. And I really had to sit with that for a little while to kind of accept that this is actually just a normal emotion, because it had dictated so much of my life for so long that I guess a sense of normality never really existed, because my normality was overriding anxiety. So I know that for everybody, the thought of medication isn't for them. And you know what? That's absolutely fine. You don't need to medicate. You might find that actually there are many other things that you can do to help manage some of the side effects and some of the symptoms of ADHD, especially pre-diagnosis, if you haven't actually gone through getting a diagnosis, or actually if you haven't really got any intention to go through the process of getting a diagnosis. A lot of people don't. A lot of people don't want that label. A lot of people think that they might have ADHD, but they're not entirely sure, but everything else takes precedence over finding out that. But intrigued about what could be done for them if they were to get more support. That's where I step in as a coach. Because I'm not here to do a hard sell. I'm not here to tell you, by coming to see me, you're going to be cured. I can get you living your life in a level of authenticity and happiness, and you're going to be skipping across, you know, la-di-la, as a result of coming to coaching. No, you have to want to be a coaching. You have to want to explore you and how you work, and actually action things that could make your life feel more comfortable. Because you don't need to live how you are. There are things that you can implement day to day that can make life a lot easier for you to manage. And these are things that I'm exploring for myself now. You know, I don't claim to be one of those that's got their shit together, because I don't. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm still nuts as, you know, mad as a box of frogs. But I have awareness. And I think having awareness gives you the option to have a choice. And having a choice in this day and age is so incredibly powerful. So if I haven't put you off with the spiel that I've just given you now, and if you're curious to kind of explore if you may or may not have ADHD, and if some of the symptoms could be managed in a more kind of practical manner, if you've been diagnosed and actually you're really struggling with some of the side effects, or you haven't been medicated, you've chosen not to, but you're actually wondering if that should be the right decision, or if depression, the symptom of unmanaged ADHD, is becoming a little overwhelming, and actually what you need is some support to put in some action, some steps, some goals, things that can help lift you up and keep moving you forward, then I am that person to talk to. Because as my role as an empowerment coach, I'm here to help you make the steps forward for you to live a more comfortable life. Because life is for living, it's not just for existing. If you can live in another way that's more authentic, then you can empower others to take a similar journey. So don't ever underestimate the power of coaching. And even more so, don't underestimate the power of coaching with somebody who has been in the same place that you're in right now. Because if I can do it, you sure as hell can. So give me a call, reach out, visit my website, drop me an email. You're entitled to, if you go through my booking app on Delenta, then you can have a half an hour free chat with me, and we can have a little bit of a discussion as to whether coaching is the right step for you, the right course for you. I'm not going to sell you something if I don't think it's going to benefit you. So please do not feel that by committing to having a conversation with me, you're committing to doing coaching with me moving forward. Because I don't like that way of working. I don't like that way of coaching. If you resonate with me and you feel that actually what you could do with me could be really beneficial for you, then when you click that app, it will feel right. And you will know in that moment whether this is for you or not. So anyway, well done for getting this far. And I'm not doing very good at trying to do 2-minute videos. They always seem to be 10 minutes plus. So thank you for watching, and I will hopefully speak to you very soon.